Sea Change Print Innovations is the largest WBENC certified printing company in the nation. A leader in Minnesota and beyond, Wendy has led Sea Change through an extensive turnaround from its launch in 2014 to the thriving, successful business it is today. Her naturally inquisitive disposition, leadership style, and passion for the changing print industry have kept Sea Change on the forefront of print and emerging technologies. Wendy's passion for others, helping others, extends beyond the office to her involvement as a board member of NABO and the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation, in addition to volunteering for organizations including the Hope Lodge, Minneapolis Crisis Nursery, Printing Industry Midwest, among others. She has been recognized with awards including NABO's Minnesota Woman Business Owner of the Year, Enterprising Women of the Year, and Minneapolis-St. Paul Business Journal Women in Business 2017. So thank you for joining us today, Wendy, and thank you all for joining us today. We will have time for questions at the end of this presentation, but feel free to type your questions in the chat box throughout the presentation. We will have a recording available for people that have signed up. And if you have questions about how to participate in CEO Next Business Institute, please reach out to me via email after the presentation. And with that, I will turn this over to our guest presenter, Wendy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Well, how cool is this? I am super excited to be here with you guys today. I too am in a cohort group, and I just really value the CEO Roundtable that I have. You know, it's a place where you can go and talk about things that you can't necessarily talk about with your leadership team, and my husband certainly doesn't want to hear it. And so it's just really great to have that group where you get to know each other on such an intimate basis, and you can just have that confidential, opportunity to be able to share what's on your mind, what's keeping you up at night. So I just want to say kudos to all of you for being in a group like this, because I think it makes a huge impact on your ability to lead. And I want to thank Harlan and Steve and Mary for asking me to be here today. What a total honor to be able to share the growth story of Sea Change. And also just want to thank those sponsors. As Mary mentioned, you know, I'm on a couple of boards, and I know that these kind of organizations cannot function without supportive sponsors. And so that kind of support, financial support, and also just philosophical support is really important to make these things click. So thanks to the sponsors, thanks for everybody for joining and wanting to be able to collaborate today. Certainly want to be able to have this be interactive. So put comments into the chat, and Mary, I'll share those out with the group, and we can make this a fun conversation. So 7 years ago, I had probably the biggest decision to make that I've ever faced in my entire career. So at that time, I was the VP of sales at a much larger printing company, and I was being kind of groomed there to move into the role of president. I was creating growth for the organization, and I was leading all the strategic planning, really kind of moving the company forward. And so was really enthused about where I was at in my career at that time. At the same time, I got a phone call from a mentor of mine that I had worked with literally 15 years in the past. And he and I have always stayed in touch. Great guy. He's one of those people that you can go to, and he's just very wise and always kind of been there for me. So he called me out of the blue and said that he had an opportunity that he thought I should look at. And this was an opportunity to buy in and start a new printing company. And of course I said, oh, Jim, wow, that sounds really exciting, but things are going really good for me where I'm at. And so, I'm not looking to make a move right now, but thanks for thinking of me. And he said, you really, Wendy, I know you, and this is something you really should look at. You should meet with the investors and take a look. So, so I did. And I spent months researching this and looking into this opportunity. And then I had a decision to make. And was it, do I take the safe route and keep moving in an organization that was already established, had a strong brand in the industry, and I was kind of on a roll there? Or do I take the risk? And that risk was pretty big. The the startup was not just a startup, but it was the purchase of a printing company that had gone out of business. But it hadn't really just gone out of business. It had developed a reputation in the industry that was not good. It was not a company I would have worked for. And so it was, not just starting at zero, it was like starting at a negative 100, type of thing. And so it was a big risk. But I thought to myself, at the time, I was 45. And if I didn't make this leap now, I may always be working for somebody else. And I thought this is a time when I can do something, own something, create my own vision of what a contemporary company should look like in our industry. And so I thought, if not now, I may never have the opportunity to do this, given kind of where I was at and stage in life. And so I thought, I'm going to go for this. So this is where I've landed, and I took the leap. So I started out, like I shared, with kind of a mess. It had been named, the company had been named Sea Change by the investors. They had hired somebody to create a logo, and I thought this logo looked like it belonged on the back of a boat. And so the environment was not good. The roof was leaking. There was not air conditioning in the plant. The only air conditioning at the time actually was in the old CEO's office. And so the air compressors were old, needed a complete overhaul of the HVAC system, just had a very archaic kind of look to it, as you can see in some of these photos. In fact, this was the old CEO's office that did have the air conditioning over here on the right. And so, at that time, started with, this environment. There was not any strategic plan in place. There was not any new business development plan in place. And so those first days were really scary. But I am a motivated person, and I was on a mission. So I immediately wanted to start bringing in some talent that would really kind of get it. The leadership team that I inherited from the company that we had bought was really not the right fit for what the vision that I had for the organization. So, and the sales team too were not business developers. And so started to work to recruit some talent, but really realized right away the obstacles of, when you have people come tour and things were looking the way that they were, that this wasn't working. And the other thing that I really faced was that I would go to industry events or try to recruit, and it was that we were known as Synergy Graphics with a new name. Oh yeah, Wendy, you're now with Synergy, but with a new name. I'm like, no, we're not. I'm not. I'm with Sea Change, and we are a brand new printing company. So, the kind of momentum that I needed in order to get that message across that we were a new company was really an uphill battle. So I decided at that point that I needed to create a strong brand and a great environment so that I then could recruit. So that was the first step that I made. And so I started with the brand and redid the logo. So you see the new logo here that now we've had for 7 years, and redid the entire building. So we started with recreating the environment. So you can see each of the images that I showed on the last slide. This was the makeover. And so wanted to create an environment that was collaborative, that was fresh. People come to visit now and they say that we look more like an agency, and that was exactly my plan. So the name Sea Change, people ask us, where'd you get that name and what does it really mean? We get confused sometimes actually with the restaurant. There's a restaurant named Sea Change, as many of you I'm sure know, in the Guthrie. And so no, we're not the restaurant. That would be really cool to own a restaurant, but that's not us. And, we're not near any water. So the name Sea Change, I think, can be confusing. But when I share the story, it really has a big aha moment for people. So the word sea change comes from Shakespeare, and it means transformation. So to us, sea change is the opportunity to approach printing in a completely new and different way. And so starting with the new branding, the new environment, and then new website, new collateral, I was ready to start building a team. And so, and at the time that we launched, I didn't really have a mission statement at that time. It was really, I remember that first meeting, I told the employees that, our mission is to work together, work really hard, take care of our customers, and grow the business. And when we grow the business, to give back to employees. Now we do have a vision statement, and that is to bring innovation and inspiration to those we serve every single day. And so that to us means that we bring that innovation and inspiration internally to our teammates. We bring innovation and inspiration through creative ideas and creative marketing campaigns to our customers, and also to our community. So when I look at our growth, and we started in 2014 with about, $10 million in business that we started with at the beginning of 2014. And we've grown to last year, 2020, being $45 million in business. And when I think about all the different things, a lot of it luck, a lot of it just really hard work, and a lot of it strategy. Where did we find that growth? And I think for me, it really boils down to three main things. So when launching, again, the new brand, the new collateral, the story, I created a tagline, and that tagline is embracing technology and redefining print. And so when I look back now and I think about in 2014, we were not redefining anything. And so my leadership team now still teases me to this day that I had the audacity to have a tagline that we were redefining print, when at the time we weren't even really able to keep up. But I knew that was the vision going forward. And this whole vision of disrupting the industry, so redefining print and bringing disruption, was something that I knew needed to happen. Our industry, sure has changed over time. There's new presses, they're faster, equipment that's better for the environment, but the approach really has not changed. It's still an approach of a customer has a project, they send their specs to the sales rep puts it into estimating works on it for 24 to 48 hours, that customer waits, you get the quote back, sign the project, it kind of goes into a black hole, you're not sure where it's going and what time, when it's going to be done and what the status is. And so we set out on a mission to really disrupt that and, to be kind of the Tesla of the print industry, or the Uber, and to do things differently. And so that was kind of that first kind of way that I was able to start to recruit some talent, because I found that I was able to bring people from very successful print companies in our industry, and much, much larger than us, because they wanted to be part of something new. They wanted to be part of something that was disrupting the industry. They wanted to be part of a startup. And so I was able to recruit people with curious minds that wanted to bring tools that are contemporary to marketers and to our customers. And so, this image kind of depicts that we wake up every single day to bring innovation and inspiration to those we serve. And we wake up trying to think about, how can we better serve? How can we disrupt the marketplace? How can we be the Tesla? And so that brings me to the second thing that's really led to our growth, and that's the other part of our tagline, and that's the embracing technology part. So embracing technology, redefining print. So it was really the technology that was going to be the cornerstone of our ability to redefine print and to really disrupt the industry. And so we've invested over $14 million in Sea Change so far. And out of that, About $8 million of it has been in new equipment. Well over $2 million of that has been in a completely new IT infrastructure and new IT software, hiring programmers and creating a software that would, again, allow us to bring contemporary solutions to customers of today. So putting in that IT infrastructure allowed us to become become high trust certified and also SOC 2 certified. And those are accreditations that are very difficult to get. It can take many companies up to 2 years to become high trust certified, and it's a qualification that's needed in order to work on protected health information and to handle secure data. And so because we had the brand new IT infrastructure, we were able to get our high trust certification and SOC 2 certification in less than 6 months, which is kind of unheard of. So we knew at the time that that we needed these accreditations in order to serve in the market that we wanted to serve in, but we didn't have the customers at the time. So it was a bold move for sure. And so along with creating the IT infrastructure, the other part of embracing technology was to create a portal that would allow our customers to have that quicker response, to have that transparency of knowing exactly where their project or program is, to have the data analytics. And so I thought, if Domino's can show you exactly where your pizza is at, is it in the oven or is it with the driver? Or, Uber shows you where is your car at right now and how soon is it going to get to you? Or, it's super easy to order on Amazon. That one click ship is so incredibly dangerous. Why can't we bring that kind of technology to our customers? And that's what really is, helping us to, again, disrupt the industry. And so we set out 4 years ago and created a brand new platform called Gather. And Gather's tagline is that it gives marketers time for lunch. What it gives them is, real-time production tracking. It gives them inventory at their fingertips to know exactly how many pieces they have in inventory. It gives them budget visibility and control. It gives them advanced proofing methods. We call that Gather Verify. It also gives them a dashboard that shows exactly where their campaigns are at that time. So this is something that is not being done in our industry, but again, in embracing technology, redefining print, that we wanted to bring to our customers. And by creating this and starting to show it to our prospects and customers, we found that this was a major game changer for them. We've had customers tell us that this has changed their life. We've had customers literally in tears of happiness saying that I used to spend hours placing orders on behalf of sales reps to get their collateral in a national organization that has a national sales team. And now that takes me less than 45 minutes. Or the sales reps can place the orders themselves because your site is so easy to use. So what this ease of doing business has done has brought us customers that want this technology and that they're not necessarily going out to bid on the work. So a lot of times in our industry, they'll call it 3 bids and a buy, or use RFPs or reverse auctions, which is a really quick race to the bottom. So instead, technology like this has brought customers that want to have, use this technology, and to use this technology, they've brought us 100% of their business. And so we've become more of an extension of their marketing department, or sometimes even we're the production arm. We've got several customers where we're producing their product and they're using the Gather platform as their ERP system in order to integrate with selling the product to their customers. And so this has won us $1 million contracts. And right now we have Fortune 5 healthcare company located here in Minneapolis that we are negotiating on a $5 million piece of business that they are coming to us because of the technology. And so this technology has been a major game changer for us. And again, we didn't have these customers when we launched it. We didn't have the customers when we created the new IT infrastructure, but I knew with that vision for the future and what our company needed to be in order to serve the contemporary needs of those customers, what we needed to do. And so that's what drew then even more talent and even better talent. And talent, that's really the third piece. So we've talked about, that vision and redefining print, the second piece being embracing technology. And that third piece that I strongly believe, and probably the most important piece that has led to our growth, has been our culture. So I am the keeper of the culture at Sea Change. It's in my DNA. I treat it like gold. It's one of those things that you cannot buy, you cannot recreate, but it is so incredibly important to our organization. And people ask me why. Why is culture so important? So beyond the obvious, to me, when I think about the importance of culture, it comes from kind of how I grew up. And when I was younger, I grew up in a very small town, and my parents became divorced. And my mom, up until that time, had been a stay-at-home mom, and she was great at it, always there when we came home from school and such. When my parents got divorced, my father stopped paying child support, and my mom had to figure out how she was going to support my sister and I. And so at that time, she didn't have any real skills because she had not been out in the workforce. And so she took a job in operations, and she worked on the line at a 3M plant. And so seeing her work that hard, she worked hard. She was tired. She took as much overtime as she could get. And so growing up and seeing that, and now, when I talk to my mom pretty regularly, we're incredibly close. And I share with her things like, we just had a Halloween party at Sea Change, or we had, other things that are going on. She will always ask me, did you include operations? And I'll say, of course we did, Mom. In fact, I'll tell her that at the Halloween party, I'll tell her all about Al's costume, and he dressed up as Popeye, right down to how cute those yellow buttons were that he had on his shirt. And I'll tell her the other stories about how we cleaned up a park, or, and it's not just at Sea Change, the leadership team that's doing these things, that's volunteering out in the, out into the community and going out to cook for the kids at the crisis nursery. For us, it's the entire team. So we take cross-functional teams to go out into the community to volunteer. And so to me, it's some printing companies, people will talk about there's carpet versus cement, or there's office versus operations. For us, we are all together, all one company, again, working together to take care of our customers, grow the business, and again, give back to employees. And that giving back to employees is incredibly important to me. And that you can see in one of these photos here, me in a Santa suit, a little crazy, but a ton of fun. And this was just this last year, 2020, Sea Change had a very strong year. And part of that promise of giving back to the employees, we did a company-wide bonus, and each employee got the same amount. So there's a personalized card of a thank you note that I wrote to each employee, in addition to their bonus check, and then a gift. And I hand wrapped 132 of those boxes along with my leadership team in order to give those out to each of our employees. So we brought around wagons full of gifts with loud Christmas music. Of course, normally we would have a holiday party, but with COVID, couldn't do that. So thought of a way, how can we still celebrate? And so did that. So, to me, a culture where people are engaged is one where creativity flourishes and people really care about their work. And when they care about their work, that's what leads to growth. When we have customers and prospects visit, I will often hear them comment that, I know everybody's name as I'm giving them a tour of our plant. And I can't imagine it really any other way. We've had many customers share with us that, yes, while it's our technology, our equipment, and ability to bring solutions, it's also our culture that aligns with their culture that has brought them to choosing us to be their partner. And so again, culture is incredibly important to our growth. So we established, many of you maybe use Traction. We established our core values. And when I think about the words that describe the sea changers, as we like to call ourselves, those words are positive, innovative, nimble, respectful, and trustworthy. And when we created these core values, we were not thinking about what are words that will just sound really good and be impressive to prospects and clients and on our website. Instead, we thought about what are the words that describe our culture, and what are the words that describe the sea changers. And these were the words that we came up with. So at this point, it's 2019, and I have shared with our entire organization that, as much as we have transformed in the last, at that time, 5 years, I told them that we will transform probably even more in the next 5 years. In fact, maybe even in the next year with the things that we have going. And sure enough, that happened. In 2020, our sales grew over double to $45 million. And so as I think about, how did that happen in 2020? And, with COVID, certainly many in our industry have seen a decline. So I'm incredibly grateful for the growth that we've been able to experience. But it was putting all these pieces in place that I've talked about today. And then in addition to that, in 2020, in February, about 2-3 weeks before COVID hit, we made an acquisition. And so this was our second attempt at an acquisition, and this one went through. And so we bought another company that specializes in mailing, bought their assets, bought new equipment, and hired about 30 additional employees. And so at that time, we all of a sudden, COVID had hit. And I thought, wow, how unlucky are we right now? Because we've just brought on this new acquisition, and now we're in the middle of COVID trying to onboard all these new employees. And if business starts to suffer, but what I didn't realize at that time is that it actually was such a blessing that we had made that acquisition, because also in 2020, we at that time were in the ballot business, and vote by mail was taking an incredible surge in direction. And so at that time, the vote by mail, due to COVID and being able to allow people to be able to vote at home and do it in a safe way through the mail, was surging across our country. And so our vote by mail services increased dramatically. And also at that same time, many of our customers are healthcare companies, and their communications and their need for direct mail also surged. And so being COVID, we couldn't bring in temporaries because my number one mission was to keep everybody here safe. And so instead of bringing in temporaries, we were very fortunate that we had made this acquisition and brought in all this additional amazing talent from the acquisition. And so that's what we had and able to support our growth in 2020. And so now I look at, we're 2021 and moving to the future. And where do we go from here? And how do we continue to grow? And so I'm a big believer in traction. We are a traction organization. And part of that is having a VTO. So I've shared parts of our VTO up here. I did block out our 5-year picture. I will talk about that a bit, but having a strategic plan is something that is incredibly important in order to have everybody rowing in the same direction and moving towards the future. And so, as I shared before, we've got our core values in place. We've got our vision statement to bring inspiration and innovation to those we serve every single day. Our niche of how we're making that happen. We've defined our target market. We know what makes us unique. We've got our proven process. We've got a process for everything, including how we work with customers. And we've got a guarantee that you'll never have to ask us for an update because we've got the Gather solution. So our 5-year target is part of our VTO. And we've named our 5-year target #BHAG 2026 and put together our 5-year plan. So I'm a big believer in getting off-site and in strategic planning. So this image up here is my leadership team. So it's my CFO, my VP of operations, and our CTO. And strategic planning for us in setting the plan for the organization has been something that has been also very critical in our growth. And in doing our strategic planning, I've learned a lot over the last 7 years. First of all, to get off-site. We've tried before to, have a day here in the conference room and always found that you just think differently when you're in the building than you do when you're off-site. In addition to that, you get interrupted and it's too easy to get pulled in other directions. And so we have made it a requirement that we always get off-site. The other thing we used to do is we would started going off-site, but then we would only go for 1 day because, we're an ambitious group and would have an agenda that is so jam-packed that I would come home with a headache and just so incredibly exhausted. And so over the last year, we've extended it to instead having our quarterly planning be 2 days instead. And that's allowed us to have a pace of schedule that allows us to be, I think, even more strategic in our planning. We always include a lot of team building. And this is something that I think is just incredibly important in order to gain trust. So we've done things like silly things like the snowshoeing. I happened to trip when we were snowshoeing. And so this is an image of my VP of Ops picking me up. So I, of course, played it off that you can't, this was part of the team building. So you can't even, create team building as good as having to, help each other up out of the snow when you can't get up. But more seriously, the kind of team building that we do really puts us in that vulnerable state. And so we've done things like the brown bag exercise where I've done that in my CEO roundtable, and that's where I learned of it, where everybody brings a bag and shares the 10 things that are most important in their life. And it always draws tears. And so I brought this same exercise to my team, and it's amazing how well you get to know each other, and knowing each other kind of at that base, how that can really build trust. We've done other exercises where we share, what is one thing that somebody's excelling at, and then what is another thing that they should either stop doing or start doing, and having regular check-ins on how we're doing in progress on that. And so really putting ourselves at kind of that vulnerable place in order to put ourselves in that mindset for strategic planning and for working together as a team. So as I said, we've got our BHAG plan, and for us, I wanted to create a number that was large enough that made us think differently. So when we sat down, and it's one of those things too that I think, it may seem like it's not that hard, but when you sit down to do it and you think about what will you look like 5 years from now, it's harder than you think. And so I wanted to put a number out there to our group that was large enough to get us to think differently, and that would scare us. A big, hairy, audacious goal should be scary. When you walk out of the room, you should be a little bit scared. And so we put a number up of $100 million. Right now, last year, we were $45 million, and a big part of that was the growth in vote by mail. I believe that business will, continue to be strong, but probably not as strong as it was because of COVID. So we've got a lot of work to do. Come a long ways, but we've got so much work to do. So we set that revenue goal very big. Then we talked about what is the strategy to get there. Certainly through acquisitions, but then we dug deeper. What kind of acquisitions? So we talked through strategies for those. And then we talked about how do we grow our current business? How do we feed the pipeline? So walked through strategies for all of those things that then of course flow down to sales leadership and the sales organization here. We talked about space. We already are bursting at the seams, and that we will need additional space. And so we've already now started to put in place a search for additional space and having a second site. And through our strategic planning, have decided that that will be a fulfillment site, and that will give us more room here if we move our fulfillment for operations here. So talked about, location and really kind of worked through strategy on that. We talked about the talent and what does that talent look like? The talent doesn't necessarily look like the talent we've hired over the last, 7 years. That talent looks like a lot of people that are in programming and technology, and that we don't need as many people to run the newer type of equipment that we have today. And then we spent a lot of time on our product breakout and really setting goals to ensure that we put the right strategies in place to grow the right kind of business, because certain sectors of the business will have less risk. Certain sectors of our business will have a brighter future than others. And so if we don't have a strategy for which parts of our business to grow, that could really take us off track. And so we spent a lot of time on that product breakout as well. So I thought that in wrapping up today, I would share a video. Sea Change won an award for being bold. You've probably seen today some of the things that we've done that have been a big risk and have been bold. And so they created a video for us that is kind of describing our bold moves. And so, Mary, if that works okay with you, I can share that video now.
I think Steve has the video key, so I'll defer to him on that.
Okay, very good. I will.
We're running it off your screen.
Are you seeing my screen okay, Steve?
Yeah, yes, we're good.
Okay.
Okay. Just the sound.
Did you hear the sound?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Okay, let's do a sound check.
Yes.
What?
Yes.
Okay, good. Embracing technology. Sea Change launched in 2014. There was another printing company in the space that we're in now that had gone out of business, and so had the opportunity to buy the assets and start a completely new company. The word Sea Change means transformation, and to us, it's the opportunity to approach printing in a new and smarter way. 2019, Sea Change made a very bold move. We invested in a brand new HP T240 press. This is an inkjet press that is a catalyst in digital transformation.
This press allows us to really meet deadlines and actually exceed them because of how fast we're actually running these. So not only can we bring more work in, but we can deliver work in a much tighter timeline to our clients.
So in the past, the technology has really only allowed for this level of personalization to be done for very small quantities. So what we're bringing to the marketplace is the opportunity for our customers to do this at a much larger scale. So the inspiration for bringing technology solutions to our customers came from watching other industries that are disrupting their industry. So if you look at Domino's and they're able to show you, is my pizza in the oven or is it with the driver? Or Uber, exactly how far away is my car right now? So I thought, why can't we bring these solutions to our customers and allow them to have this at their fingertips and make it easier for them? So we made a very bold move and created a new marketing platform called Gather that allows our customers to put together strategic communication plans.
Omni-channel solutions, marketing automation, including things like email, text messaging, web hosting, video hosting.
Puts everything at their fingertips, from budget visibility and control to knowing exactly where their projects are at.
And so you don't have to wonder, is my job getting taken care of? Is it going to ship on time? Is it going to mail on time? Did they get my proof approval? And not only is that information available at your fingertips anytime you want it, but we can also set it up to automatically send you notifications when you want them, how you want them. And all of this is coming from a company that at its core is a printing company. Now that's bold.
I am Wendy Brewer, and we are Sea Change. Great. So Thanks, everybody. As I wrap up today, I just want to challenge you to think about how you bring inspiration and innovation every day to those that you serve. And I think it'd be really cool if you could put it in the chat room on the chat, sorry, or possibly, unmute and tell us. I think that, the best energy comes from, and the best inspiration comes from being collaborative and sharing. So I'd love to hear from you. And just really want to thank you for letting me join you today. This has been a ton of fun, and now I look forward to the best part, which is being able to collaborate with you in a conversation.